is, and Tab and Chantel, who are all involved in the Swan Perth International in Film Festival, which aims to support women in filmmaking and shine a light on their stories. Giz is the festival director, Tab is the festival manager, and Chantel is the festival coordinator. In this episode, we're going to find out more about the festival, which is being held on from the 2nd to the 4th of December. It's 3 events at SAE in Northbridge and 2 events at the Backlot, a private cinema in the city. Tickets are live, and I'll leave the link in the comments. We're also going to have a conversation around why events like this need to happen and the perspective of women in the film creative industry. Welcome, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Tell me, how did this festival start? How did it begin?
Awesome. Well, there's 5 of us in total that run the festival, and myself and Casey, one of the girls who's not here today, she is our events designer. So we were on set one day, and we were kind of going through the motions of submitting our own films to the festival circuit. And one of our guy friends chirped in, why don't you submit to the Perth Women's Film Festival? And we were like, well, there isn't one. It doesn't exist at the time. There have been women-centered events that have kind of come through Perth, but we haven't actually had our own one in a very long time. The one we did have was actually run by an Eastern State company. So there kind of was a gap in the market there, and we just kind of really wanted to provide a space for women to network and meet with each other and to get filmmakers collaborating and just kind of really sharing the female perspective in filmmaking. So I guess, we just really wanted to kind of help make something like that happen. And there was a bit of are we the right people to do this? Do we have the capability of this? And it's just kind of, when you have the opportunity, when you recognize there's that need, especially in a place like Perth where we really want to encourage networking, why not just try and see what happens? There was this solid month leading up to before we opened submissions. So we started planning the festival in December of last year.
Wow.
We opened up for submissions, I believe, late February or early March.
February.
Yeah. In February, we opened up for submissions. And there was the solid, the month that leading up to submissions opening up that I was is anything going to happen of this? Is this actually going to stick? And then our first month, I think we got 60 submissions.
Wow.
And it was after that, we just knew we can do this. With that amount of support from the community that we were getting, we can push this to start happening. That's kind of how it happened.
And it wasn't only Perth films being submitted, it was films from around the world, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So we had submissions from 40 countries.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did you get the message out there?
So we mainly operate through a site called Film Freeway. So Film Freeway, it's just kind of, everyone knows it. It's very safe. Being a new festival, it just kind of made sense to go through a platform that people know and trust.
Is it a online community or?
No, so it's actually a service where film festivals, all the major film festivals, even really big ones, you can submit through Film Freeway. And if you just go on there, you can make an account either as a filmmaker or as a festival. And there's a little bit of, because all your money goes through there, because all of your assets go through there, there's a degree of, what's the word, there's a bit of security for the filmmakers.
Yeah. Safety, yeah.
Safety, accountability. That's it. There's a bit of accountability for the festivals going through Film Freeway. So it kind of provides a safety net. So because we're a first-year festival, we need to establish that trust with people. And Film Freeway kind of lets us do that. And they do a lot of advertising on our behalf because they want people to submit.
Paid them amount and then they manage the marketing and everything.
Yeah, so they would include us in newsletters, and as well as the crazy thing is, so you can search on Film Freeway for festivals via categories, and you can look up women's film festivals in Australia, and I think there's only 6, so we're pretty easy to spot.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm pretty sure I might get the number wrong there, but we're one of 6 in Australia. So it's fairly easy to spot us the second you start looking to your niches on the festival, which a lot of filmmakers know, you kind of start with your niches and then you kind of expand to the more general festivals. Yeah.
Okay, that's really cool. And Any countries in particular that maybe you're getting like a lot of entries from?
We got a lot of, I mean, it's hard to say any country in particular. We definitely had a lot, mainly Australian ones. But
Was it the majority from Perth or?
no, actually, I would say like all over Australia, really. It's hard to pin it down to one state. Because like, I would say Queensland and WA were kind of similar, would you say? Like, yeah.
New South Wales would be a big one because they're big on the film industry, like filming.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And, but in terms of like countries, we had a lot of submissions from Germany and New Zealand, and I would say, and France, and I would say like in terms of like quality of films, New Zealand is where it's at. New Zealand has some good stuff.
Bit of a competitor there. Us in Perth. That's cool.
Yeah.
What kind of like genres have you been seeing like as for submissions?
Yeah, so we have a lot of different categories. We actually have 4 different narrative categories, and we also have a documentary category. So we kind of have a lot of different genres. I guess, because we have, so we have 5 different sessions that are going on, and each one is kind of themed. So it depends on which night you're going to, what kind of genres you're going to see. Our opening night is called Dahlia, and Dahlia is kind of your darker, more obscure kind of content. Not necessarily all, upsetting. Some of it's just weird. Yeah, avant-garde, and that's got our like experimental film category winner and our like more serious topics.
Okay.
Then we have Flamingo, which is we have an under-17s category because we want to encourage schools to get involved. The under-17s category is national, so it's Australia only. Just kind of encouraging like young girls in high school and stuff to see what does the film industry look like. This is like their entry into it. Because
I don't know if you guys feel the same, but as someone who, went to primary school and then high school, I was in an arts program. There's very little to do with film and the media, and like just the fact of how like the internet and media is like involved in every industry. It was surprising, and I think would have been good to see like more of that social media kind of film and just general media influence in like primary school and high school.
I think like we're moving towards a world where everything is going to be more digital. So why are we not teaching high schoolers like how to live and be like prepared for that type of a world? And like we got submissions from like the high schoolers, and I was thinking about it, I was like, these like quality of films in high school is like are insane compared to like what we were making in high school. I was like, wow, like they already kind of have like the whole like, what is it called? Like digital native stuff about them. Like they know what they're doing, and having platforms to put them on. And then like they can come from high school and watch their films in a festival. Like that would be insane to be like in year 9 and watch that happen. So a great opportunity for them. Yeah,
I think also like what might influence that is like a lot of teenagers have like iPhones or like smartphones with pretty good cameras, and with the introduction of TikTok and when I was in high school, it was more people on YouTube doing like vlogging with like normal cameras, but vlogging is like so time consuming. So now you have TikTok, which more people can do because they have a smartphone and they can make little vlogs or videos on TikTok. And I've seen a lot of people just making like mini films on TikTok. So
not only TikTok, but just like in general, like films get made through iPhones now, just because it's so easy to make films on your iPhone and not to have to buy really expensive gear, which is super cool. There's been like actually a few feature films that have done that, so it's very interesting.
For the submissions?
Oh, not for these ones, but in general. I think there's one called Unsane, and it was all filmed on an iPhone about a woman going insane.
Okay. That sounds cool.
I feel like it's also great for like, being Australia and WA specifically, we're very much a documentary state and like a documentary, like Australia loves their documentaries.
Yeah.
I would just say majority filmmakers in Australia tend to be documentary orientated. And that's the cool thing about like phones getting, better quality is that, if you're somewhere and you see something that would be good for whatever you're working on, you can just take your phone out and start recording, not set up gear and like it looks really awkward and you're trying to get a genuine response out of people. And I was also going to say, like, another really great, like, local event, the WA Made Film Festival, they actually have a smartphone competition for short films shot on smartphones.
Okay, that's super cool.
Yeah. So it's just kind of cool seeing that, like, kind of stuff coming about and, like, it being more accessible to, like, young people and young filmmakers, getting people excited about the future of industry, you know.
And it's so important because, like, I feel like a lot of in high school, it's becoming, the arts and media becoming more underfunded as time goes on. Like, one of my friends was let go from the arts department recently from one of our schools, high schools, because they are cutting down the art department, which is crazy.
Oh, what happened? Sorry.
She was let go from her position because they were cutting down. The arts.
So she had a job in the
arts department at a high school in Perth. So they're just cutting down on it. So it's just really sad, and hopefully us promoting it and influencing it will allow kids to, like, push for more arts and more media in schools.
I think just people, and I've actually talked about the creative culture in Perth, just Perth not valuing the arts and creativity enough.
Yeah,
I think it's such a misconception. like it's a huge industry, and with the rise in social media and TikTok and literally I don't think a business can really operate at its potential without media involved and,
Absolutely
and some sort of ability to film something involved. It should be like the government should be like pumping this industry. That's what I think.
Yeah,
100%.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think it's really cool to kind of see people pushing for more of that stuff, though. Like, hopefully we'll get the studio at some point.
Yeah.
Also, a studio for the Women's Film Festival.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, no, just like like the film studio that was going to be built in Fremantle.
Yes.
That's now in Malaga, I believe. They're building towards.
It was proposed by Mark McGowan a couple of years ago to be in Fremantle.
Yeah.
And then it was axed or something like that. And then now he's saying, oh, it's
back on,
but going to be in Malaga. So, yeah, I mean, obviously we hope it happens. I don't know. Is there anything do you think we can do to
make it happen?
Yeah, make it happen.
I just find it so interesting. Like, I want to know who, like, they talked to when they were like, oh, do you think Fremantle will work? And, like, who was a filmmaker who said, oh, probably not. And then they all went, oh, okay. And then to put it back in Malaga, like, I already work in Malaga. That'd be great if we built it there. But I think, you know, the general public kind of see it as a waste of money. I went through all the Facebook comments under the Mark McGowan post and I was like, wow, these people just don't get it. Like, I think it's something that we do need, but I do see that there'll be a lot of backlash if we do get it.
But then it's like these people write these comments, but then are the ones going home and turning on the TV, watching their Netflix and watching their movies. Like, who do they think is creating all of this
content?
Like, this doesn't just happen like that.
I also feel like it's like, do people not understand literally every single part of your lives are centered around creative media? Every single thing that you see, everything is be designed. This table, this microphone, like your phone, everything has to be advertised. Everything is designed. Like, we need creative spaces and creative people. It's kind of how society runs.
And everything we buy, everywhere you look, everything's being advertised. Yeah, exactly. It's all being catered to you.
What are your thoughts on, because I had a podcast with my friend Atlee, who's kind of involved in a lot of creative projects in Perth. He runs Ape Shit, which is like Artist Initiative Perth. And I don't know if it's his quote, but he was saying scarcity cultivates creativity, and because we're in like Perth, which is like we have a good economy, you know, it's kind of like funded by mining, which is not a very creative industry, and we kind of just like mine stuff and then export it, and we're not like creating things here. All our values aren't on creativity in the arts because we're getting like, we're already getting paid and I can just buy my like jet ski and Land Rover through FIFO.
I think he nailed it with the whole scarcity. Like, that kind of is how this festival came about, is there was no female filmmaker festival in Perth. So we were like, well, if there is nothing, you've got to make it yourself. And I think we see that a lot in Perth, whereas like if you go out and you're like, oh, I wanted like, I don't know, a female film festival or a female dance studio or like whatever it is that you kind of want, and you look around and you're like, oh, it's not here. Like, it's on us who live here to make that happen because like you said, no mining company's coming to be like, oh, I'll come help. Like, it's us ourselves doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's also why this sort of podcasting studio happened, the podcasting, because there wasn't anything here. so then I was like, oh, I'll create it. So it also tied into why people kind of moved overseas or to Melbourne, because like, oh, it's not happening here, so I'm going to move overseas. But you can like make it here, and you can be like the founder.
That is literally something that I say all the time. Every time I tell people, oh, I work in the film industry, people are like, there's a film industry here? And it's like, yes, there is. We just need people to stay here and cultivate it. And it's really exciting to see a lot of film things kind of moving here. Like WA is still very much a post-production state in terms of a lot of like editing, post-producing kind of happens here. But like seeing a lot more actually being made here is so exciting. I feel like we're in a really exciting time for cultivating industry here and making it happen, especially post-COVID. It kind of feels like post-COVID, WA has just been so inspired to create events. Like we're seeing a lot of new festivals. We're not the only one. A lot of new festivals are popping up. We're just the only like women's, you know,
for sure.
which is exciting. And I'm glad that we kind of get to make that space. But it's also just really cool to see more film spaces in general being made.
Yeah, and we were talking before about different film projects that were made in Perth. And Tab, I think you mentioned that, yes, the Stranger Things. Part of the Stranger Things was shot here in Perth.
Yeah, so one of the actors in like one of the recent seasons, he lives here. So I guess instead of bringing him to Hollywood.
Yeah, I've got his name, Dacre Montgomery.
I think it's like Dacre.
Dacre.
Yeah, Montgomery.
He played the racist.
Yeah.
The guy with the mullet.
Yeah, instead of like, bringing him over back to Hollywood, they filmed it here. Which I think is great, but also like there was only a couple of Perth people who worked on it. I think they brought their own crew and cast here. And I think, we should definitely have more stuff here, but I think we should use the people that we have here as well for it. That'd be great.
Yeah.
I do actually. I have a mate who worked on it, and after it finished, she was like, I can finally talk about this now that it's out, because she obviously had to sign an NDA, so she couldn't talk about it until the episode aired, and then she was like, I can finally talk about this. I worked on it.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's like a pretty big thing. Like it's a huge series, and for it to be filmed in Perth, that's pretty cool. But I totally agree that like, I think even with a few other films, they bring over their own crew from the US or from wherever instead of outsourcing in Perth. Like, do we have a like an agency or something that I'm sure we
do.
Yeah.
We have lots of different agencies.
There's so many places here, and it's like we just get forgotten about so quickly. Everyone's like, oh, Perth, that little place. And the amount of times you can ask any filmmaker, like any creative, where you're like, oh, I'm going to film, I'm going to the industry, and they're like, so you're moving? Like, you're moving, obviously you have to be moving, right?
To Melbourne, right?
To Melbourne, to Sydney,
Melbourne?
right? You know how hard it is in Perth. There's no film industry in Perth, and it's like,
why do you think there isn't an industry in Perth?
I'm like, that's just what you think.
Yeah.
I also think like with trying to film like the bigger projects here, it's always incredible when you see your friends' names in the credits. Like there's absolutely no better feeling than like your own or seeing someone that like, you work closely with, you see their names in the credits. Stuff like ads, like recently like the Lottery West ads, seeing people I've known in those, and like you'll just be watching your TV with like your friends, you're like, look, I know that person. And I just like, to be able to have that experience more would be just incredible.
Yeah, for sure. And then there were some other ones that we were talking about as well. The Shipwreck Hunters, was that? Yeah.
Shipwreck Hunters, which just came out on Disney Plus. That was all about shipwrecks on the WA coast. I watched the first episode. They were like, they found this shipwreck that was unidentified, and the guy running it, he's not connected to, like, he does shipwreck diving, but he's not like a historical person at all. And he managed to find a record of like which ship it most likely was, and it's all about that. It was really interesting.
Is that out?
Yeah, it's out. It's on Disney Plus. I believe it was produced by Sandbox, which is one of the few amazing like film production companies here in Perth.
Okay, cool.
And it was really cool to be able to like see that on Disney Plus.
Yeah,
like
for
a
sure.
Perth made produced production.
Wow. on Disney Plus. That's so inspiring.
Yeah.
It had the shipwreck gallery in it, and I don't know if anyone else in primary school was like took on like an excursion to the shipwreck gallery. And then I remember like seeing it for the first time, and I was like, oh my god, like every child in Perth is gonna be like, we've been there, we know where that is, which is really cool.
That's me every time I see like a prominent Perth location in like an ad or something, like Hyde Park, and I'm like, I know that place.
Yeah. For sure. And I think like one of the reasons I have this podcast, or my goals, is like to try and bring industries that might be going, or that you find typically in the US or in Sydney or Melbourne, like whether it's creatives working with bigger brands like Nike or whatever. Like recently I've seen a lot of creators working with Puma, like just creating content for Puma and that sort of thing, which is like pretty cool to see that in Perth. But also in the film industry, yeah, it'd be cool to see if it's filmed in Perth, use like film crews that are from Perth, because I'm pretty sure it'd probably be more cost effective as well. Like don't have to fly a whole team over and
Yeah.
Well,
whatever.
that's the amazing thing about things like the movie How to Please a Woman. And there's actually
which was filmed
like 100% WA made, WA crew. I know a lot of the people who worked on it. It's just really cool to like see a film like that providing a platform for WA people and having such an amazing like crew behind it. Like genuinely just really passionate WA people. And it's such a funny film as well.
Yeah.
It had a theatrical release and everything.
And then it got picked up by Mad Men and it's making the rounds.
Oh, cool.
How funny though, one of the locations that they filmed How to Please a Woman, and Chantel and I like didn't even realise, but we used the same house for some scenes, which is crazy.
Well, we
Oh,
shot
yeah.
for Beauty Mark.
Oh,
yeah.
really?
Yeah.
That's it, yeah. So the lady was like, oh, we had another film here. Do you know that film, How to Please a Woman? I was like, oh, yes, I do. But no, yeah. So that was like, you meet people all the time, but that little like crossover was really cool because I was like, Tab, can you believe this?
We're in the big leagues now.
Yeah. So it's cool to be like surrounded by other films, like seeing that and having that moment where you're like, oh, like this is actually really cool, you know?
And it also kind of communicates that, oh, maybe you can do it too. You're a Perth creative,
Yeah.
and you can make it happen.
And not just find success like here in Australia, but around the world. There's also a TV series which is shot up north called Mystery Road. And Mystery Road is doing really, really well. And that is also WA made, produced, made, acted. And it's finding a lot of success in like Sweden randomly, as well as like Australia and other European countries.
Shout out Sweden.
Shout out Sweden.
What's that? Where's that available?
ABC,
What's it called? Oh,
Yeah.
iView. Okay.
Yeah.
Mystery Road. Mystery Road is really good. I
And
do
on
recommend.
some Sweden.
And apparently on some Sweden
And
platform.
apparently Sweden. Swedish films were good. We had a couple of Swedish submissions that were very interesting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, on that topic of kind of seeing Perth producers and filmmakers being successful and maybe being surrounded by them as well, inspiring you as a creative, I think that's also maybe the idea behind the Swan Film Festival as well, because there's less women in the film industry, and
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty lucky. There's obviously like spaces where women are more represented and less represented. And I guess we just want to see a lot more women in large creative roles on set. I mean, the first rule of our festival, the kind of rule about representation.
tell us about the requirements.
Yeah.
To
So,
enter.
like, we have a couple of boring requirements like duration and whatever. But our first rule, which is our rule about like representation, is 3 above the line roles: producer, director, writer. 2 of them have to be occupied by a woman. It can be the same woman because that, one woman is still taking up that creative space. But it's just like, we like to think of like the project as real estate, and different roles will have different amounts of creative real estate over the project. And we just want the large real estate to be taken up by a woman. So that's kind of like the requirements. It's just 2 above the line roles occupied by a woman. Yeah.
I have to run. Bye, guys.
Oh, see ya. Oh, wait, let's just take a quick selfie because I didn't do that before. This is going to be a live selfie.
Live selfie.
Live selfie.
I'll lean in.
Thank you.
Bye. Later. Awesome. Thank you, Tab.
Thanks, Tab.
But yeah, so that's the like requirement that kind of pertains to female representation.
Mm-hmm.
And like one of the main goals of the festival is like getting women to network with each other, because part of film industry is like you have to network, you have to meet people, and we want to create like that opportunity for everybody, for filmmakers in Perth. I want to stress that like our festival is for everybody.
Yeah.
Come and have a good time, all ages to a degree. Some sessions maybe check the content, but
Dahlia night.
yeah, maybe don't bring your kids to Dahlia.
For those European films.
Yeah, there's a couple of interesting ones. But yeah, so like I guess it's a networking opportunity for everybody. Sorry, I'm on the back end of a cough, but we really want to encourage especially women to come and network, because when women meet each other and they're going to talk about projects, they can pull each other onto those projects and create job opportunities, especially for roles that are underrepresented. Actually, I was so happy when we, the films have obviously already like gotten their awards and everything. Yeah. And our winner of the best cinematography category, it was a female DOP for the film Finding the Lighthouse, which I believe was a New Zealand film. And it's called Finding the Lighthouse, and the cinematographer who won, it's her second like best cinematography award. She got one from a Greek film festival as well. And I just think that's so cool, because cinematography is actually, I believe it's the role that women are least represented in. So
Very male.
Yeah,
dominated.
very male dominated like kind of position. So to have this amazingly talented female filmmaker, like cinematographer, get 2 like film festivals acknowledging that, I think that's just so amazing. And when I saw that, I was like very happy.
That's really cool, because obviously, just it's a testament to her talent.
Yeah.
Because 2 like different random events like awarding her, that's really cool.
Yeah. So I guess we're hoping to just kind of provide more opportunities for women in Perth and get them to like meet, connect, and just get some creative collaboration happening.
Yeah, I think that sort of thing is super important, especially in like a place like Perth. I think we need to be connected, and just meeting each other is so important, and finding out what everyone does, because I think that's how we can grow together. And I know that sometimes there's this mindset of like, even I heard the guys talking about it in the last podcast, which was there might be this mindset of like, oh, there's not enough for everyone. But I think if we're working together, that's kind of how we can bring these opportunities overseas.
Well, I think that's one of the amazing things about the WA industry, is I do feel like a win for one of us is a win for all of us.
Yes.
And it gets really celebrated. I mean, we have like, not officially, but individually, we kind of have, we know the people who work on WA Made Film Festival. And it was really great seeing them kind of excited about Swan as well, because like I was talking about this with, I don't want to like name drop. I was talking about this with Matthew Eels, who's the director of WA Made, beginning of the year, because my film was in WA Made. And I was chatting with him, and he was talking about like the film festivals in WA, like supporting each other and everything. And it's like, absolutely we do, because we are all working together to create a film culture. I don't view us as in competition. I mean, definitely not us, because we're a first-year film festival. But I don't view us as in competition with the other film festivals in WA. We are all working towards the same goal, and we're all excited about the same things. And if anything, seeing all these new events popping up for film in Perth, it's like, oh my goodness, that is so amazing. I'm so thankful that I get to be a part of that, you know?
And I really do think that we have some of the best creatives in the world here in Perth. It's just opportunity-wise, it's kind of limited. But I think, through networking and, conversation and I think collaboration, we can bring, those opportunities here for sure. Because Perth is only going to keep on growing and expanding and connecting, and with the internet, like we're connected now more than ever. So just more opportunities, and more like we have smartphones and stuff, and you said some people like young people making films in their smartphones, so just more there's more ability for people to create films and get into it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, especially with Screen West providing a lot of opportunities with funding and stuff, it's really amazing seeing a lot of local films getting that funding, getting that support, because I believe WA is the only state that gives funding to short films. I could be wrong about that, but
That sounds correct.
Because I think other states give funding to features, but WA is the only state that gives funding to shorts, which I think is really great because short films are underrated. We are a short film festival, and short films are something I'm quite passionate about. I have watched way more short films than feature films this year.
I think the other funding bodies give TV series, and web series are getting popular.
Yeah, absolutely. So seeing I feel like curating that, I think it's really great that Screen West is curating that short film environment, because that's just helping people hone their craft and make better films in general, so that by the time they are making features, they're making really good ones. And that's also helping like WA culture, like not just make films, but make good films.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I was trying to fact check whether the grant thing, but I couldn't find that specifically. But it looks like this came out this year, which is the 7.7 million Screen West grant. So I assume that's how much they have. And Mark does seem to be pushing. Shout out Marky Mark, pushing the film industry, which is great. Hopefully we'll see that production studio, but shout out Mark. He says WA is local screen industry punches well above its weight, producing some incredible film and TV shows over the years.
Amazing.
Also Screen West is a key part of the filmmaking industry, and so obviously Screen West, they seem to be funding a lot of stuff, which is cool.
Screen West has their I don't know if they're still using this names. It used to be called the Elevate funding. I believe they're still using Elevate.
30 and Elevate 70 now.
Yeah. So Elevate 30, that's the third
30,000.
Yeah, you might know a bit more about this than me.
So Elevate 30,000 and then Elevate 70,000. And Elevate 30,000 is for if you're just an upcoming filmmaker. And you're wanting to get funding. So that's a really good opportunity for people out of uni and have created at least one or two projects and are looking for opportunities. The grant is closed now, and I think they're picking finalists soon. I'm not sure where the timeline is, and then Elevate 70 is for more established filmmakers. Like if you got Elevate 30 and you've had funding before. So both of the opportunities are really great, and hearing about like friends who've applied and everything, it's really, because even if you don't get it, you get to meet like Screen West, meet connections and the panel and everything. So it's really cool opportunity. Yeah,
I've got the web page here. It says Elevate 30 and Elevate 70 closed on the 19th of September.
But they have so the whole initiative, it opens every year. So it's really, I think it opens in July.
Yeah. It's a yearly thing, and I think some of the fundings, because they do have a couple of other ones as well, I think they do every 2 years. So it kind of depends on the projects, because I worked on what's called an Elevate Plus project at the start of the year. And I think that Elevate Plus is now every 2 years.
Yeah, I think,
which is just one of the fundings that they do.
And do you guys have experience in applying for grants and that sort of thing yourselves, or?
Applying?
Just like applying, because I haven't ever applied for a grant, I don't think, but maybe there's people listening that want to apply. You just fill out a lot of forms?
No, it's more scary. I actually applied for some funding. It's very scary. I actually applied with TAB, and it was a very scary time. So I've made some films, and I make very like angry feminist.
Chantel is a kick-ass, amazing director, by the way.
But I applied, and it's very scary as someone who is a perfectionist and goes, I don't feel ready. But having people push me and apply, it's very great. I was shortlisted, so for a funding body, I think I can say that now. But even like meeting, like I met so many people through that, like all the panel and everyone, they were very impressed, and just like meeting Screen West people, meeting like women in film, it was so amazing to like have people listen to you and have people take in your ideas and be able to be mentored by people. So that was really great, but it's definitely it's a vigorous application.
It's definitely like you don't get it unless you're a very like you have to be dedicated. You have to be passionate.
Because there's different, obviously, they want pretty much a lot of the funding bodies, not just Screen West, but probably any funding body you go to, they want kind of everything already set out. It can vary from scripts to like budgeting to a schedule. Like you have to have what you're going to use the money for. So if you're getting like 30 grand, 10 grand, whatever it is, you need to the cent kind of have a rough estimate of where that money is going, because they're not going to just give you the money and be like, here you go, off on your merry way, you know.
Have fun.
And then also just like, because a lot of the time they're investing in you as like a filmmaker, not just as like not just the film, if that makes sense. Yeah. So it's definitely an interesting process. It's terrifying.
How long did it take you to
do the process?
Yeah.
I think I was stress eating and having my hair fall out a little bit, but I think it took us 2 to 3 weeks, because we had to film a video, we had to do a director's statement, a writer's statement, director's supportive.
Is that a written statement, or you're talking to?
So you have to do a writer's statement, which is written, a director's statement, which is also written, and then a director's like a video pitch as well about your story, and then a script, and then a budget, and then also director's supportive, which is like how you're going to direct, like what's your vision for the script. And then your producer has to do a producer statement and all of their budgeting and schedule, and so it was very vigorous. So basically they want to know everything before you even know if you're going to get it. Is
there any like agencies or companies that guide you through this, or did you just do it yourself, or did you have any help?
Yeah, so actually shout out to SE. Lovely, one of our lecturers who is amazing, Jesse. He actually got, can I say he got the Elevate?
Yeah, because
it's all public.
It was his Elevate Plus film that I worked on at the start of the year, and he's actually currently in the Elevate's like feature film funding at the moment. He
got chosen,
so he got a $70,000 grant for his short film, and now he's working towards the feature of the same like concept, which is it's a really amazing film. But I'll let you keep talking.
No, all good. So when I heard he had also gone through Screen West, I love going to him for script writing, because he is also an amazing script writer and just a writer in general. So I went to him, and he pretty much helped mentor me through the process, me and Tab, through the process of applying, because I just felt so out of my element. So having his help and his guidance definitely helped, but if you're going into it, it's definitely hard to do by yourself. It's definitely a very hard, but Screen West does provide like emails and people to contact if you're struggling. Okay. So that's something I didn't do, because I was also terrified of talking to someone being like, hey, I feel stupid, you know. That's always terrifying to like admit that. But they're really open about getting help from them if you need help through the application and all of that. So I wouldn't dissuade anyone from doing it.
I think it's like if you're going to be lazy about it, or if you think it's going to be easy, it's not going to be easy. But if you're passionate about it, and if you actually want to try for it, they're going to like support you, because they're also passionate about industry. They also want to see an industry here. So it's like they're not going to say, they're going to help you. They're going to push you, but they're not going to make it easy, because if it was easy, then the product's not going to be as good.
Yeah, exactly. But they do believe in like integrity and like if you're passionate. And I really think that Perth will have some really passionate filmmakers, especially with the way the Swan is going. Yeah. We have very passionate women filmmakers. And I'm excited to see what happens next week.
Just talking a bit about SA, because they're one of the sponsors of.
SAE is one of our main sponsors. They are also hosting 3 of our events. So they are hosting our opening night, which is Dahlia. They're hosting our under 17s category, which is the Saturday morning session. And then Sunday morning is our Magenta Shorts, which is the lighter content narrative film. So if you're a little bit squeamish, Magenta's the one to go to.
Friendly.
Oh, well, I wouldn't know if I'd say there's a couple of adult themes. We do have trigger warnings and everything on our program, which you can find on our website, if I can drop it, www.swanwomaninfilmfestival.com.au. The program is on there, which does like have descriptions of the film, so you can make the judgment call on which session is going to be best for you. So yeah, SAE is hosting those 3 events, which is really amazing because it means that not only are we able to show these films, but we can also show people. SAE is really great at hosting kind of creative environments, and they're a university that's really we all studied there, so we're a little bit biased, but I think
well, I do want to, because I think there's a lot of creative listeners, and I do want to, because obviously they sound like they were a great place to learn about filmmaking, and they were really helpful.
Absolutely. I think SAE is quite a small university. It's only one building in Northbridge, because majority of what we did was so practical. They are not, like, there's some theory knowledge you obviously have to learn, especially in the early trimesters, but the later you go through your degree, so we all did bachelors, the later you go through your degree, the more you, like, it's mainly about the project that you make. It's so That's practical. Good. And because it's a small university, you get really close with your cohort. Like, you kind of become friends with everyone in your year group, and also really close with your lecturers. Yeah. So we're talking about Jessie, that's Jessie Laurie. There's also Tim Fox. So Tim Fox is the current head of film department at SAE. He is such an amazing man, and he has been so supportive of this festival. He's the one who's been coordinating us to have it at SAE. He's been advocating for us to get certain, like, we were going to have a couple of things that might, like, disrupt the space a bit, and he was advocating for us. And it's lecturers like that who really, like, care. It's not just a job to them. They're not just coming in, oh, I'm going to, like, boringly dribble in a, like, dry voice, take this class off the list. They actually are, like, they ask you about your project, and they're creative as well. So when you're talking about what script you're working on, what film you're working towards, what you want to do, they're asking you questions, and they're giving you real solid advice, like that a creative would give to another creative.
Yeah, I feel like they're always keeping up to date. Every time I'm making a film, someone's like, how's that going? I'm like, how did you know about that? And they're like, oh, I know things. And I'm like, awesome, because they're just so helpful. And it's like with SAE, you kind of get in what you kind of get out what you put in. Is that the right saying?
Yeah. Like, if you go in and you're lazy, you're not going to get a lot
because like your cohort would totally understand if you're lazy. Like, they will not want to work with you. And because it's such a communal thing, it's kind of like you kind of notice people who are not working as hard, or people who are not that passionate, or just doing this for, like, fun. And this is for a lot of us, we're very passionate about this. This is what we want to make our jobs. Giz is actually from a different tri. Do you want to speak about, like, how many women you had in your tri?
So I was one of 2 girls in my trimester, so not a lot of women. We were a very small trimester. We were a graduating class of 15. Only 2 of us were women, and shout out to Indy. We like each other. We were friends, but we have, like, very conflicting roles. So we went often on projects together. So often it felt like I often did feel very lonely, and I missed a connection with women, to the point where when it came to my capstone, which is what we call, like, your final project of your bachelor, I got Chantel involved. Chantel was my producer, and I got some other women on board, and it was so nice to just work with women. Because, like, not that there's anything wrong with the guys on my cohort. I'm really close with them. A lot of them are my friends. I was really lucky that even though I didn't have a lot of women in my cohort, I had a lot of really supportive, good men. But I definitely did miss that female connection. And Jessie actually, in Tri 3, because SA is trimesters, not semesters. In Tri 3 is Jessie's class, which is short film. And one of the suggested short films to watch is this Pixar short called Yarny. Now, Yarny... Oh, no. Is it called Yarny? Or is it called... It's a Pixar short about a ball... Oh, no, it's called Pearl. It's called Pearl with a U. Pearl with a U. And it is a Pixar short that I really recommend. It's strangely adult for a Pixar short, because there is an adult joke in there. But it's an animated short film about being a woman in a male-dominated workspace, and how you can lose your femininity, and not just your femininity, but your female, like, I feel like women know, like when you see another woman in a workplace,
It's
especially
like
male-dominated field, it's instant companionship.
It's like female. It's like a sense.
Solidarity.
You know?
That's
It's like
the word.
similar to like Spidey sense. You know
Yeah,
how
I
Spider-Man
think-
has his Spidey sense.
I think that's just normal, like human nature. Like even
like a connection.
if a guy was in a room full of women, it would like be the
Yeah,
same thing.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like when you notice that you two are the minority.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you relate
Yeah.
to each other.
And
yeah.
you relate to each other. So Pearl is a really great film about losing your femininity in order to fit in a male-dominated space. Which, look, not that there's anything wrong with masculinity. It's just kind of, it's important to hang on to who you are and not lose yourself in any space. So I watched that and Try 3, and it really stuck with me.
Okay.
And from then on, I feel like I tried to be I'm anyway a quite feminine person, but just trying to be like as feminine as possible because I felt like I was losing
Or just
touch.
making sure nothing affects your family.
Yeah, like who I am, because I do feel like I was trying to let go of certain parts of myself to fit in, and that's never a good thing. I was also quite young at university. I started university as soon as I could, so I was 17 as well.
They're still figuring out like
yeah.
who you are.
Exactly, and I didn't want to lose track of who I was to like get in with the guys, and
Sorry, I'm just gonna have you because I want
No,
your
no.
face sort of in it. So if
No
you face,
worries.
yeah, just you can
yeah,
talk about it,
you're
yeah.
all good. But yeah, so being like, you know, one of two girls and often feeling, I think we both felt, you know, very like alone. It was just really, it could be very isolating at times. And that was a film that like inspired me to like not lose my female connection, I'll say. And that's the thing is like, I think that, I don't know whether that was his intention or not, but Jesse like put that there. And I've had conversations with Jesse where he's talked about wanting like to help women on SAE like find each other and women on SAE encourage their collaboration. Because I guess that's just the really cool thing about Jesse and some of the other lecturers at SAE and Tim, you know, I do feel like they really care about the students.
And yeah, I just want to say like that's an example of a film. You know, I don't know if was it directed by.
I'm guessing so because I
like
actually
maybe
yes,
a female writer, or
I
can even
remember
check,
reading an article about it, and yes, it was a female
Yeah,
writer.
directed by Kristen Lester, screenplay Kristen Lester.
Yeah, because I remember actually I did read an article about it. She based it off of her experience when she first started working at Pixar. Because when she first started working at Pixar, it was a male-dominated space. It is now a female-dominated space.
Oh, wow.
I believe.
Don't
I read that
Fact check
article
that.
2 years ago. You know, she would be one of 2 or 3 women in a space. And so she had to kind of adapt, and she felt like she lost part of herself trying to fit in. And so this film was like her experience, because at the end of the film, Pearl, the ball of yarn, because in this animated short, women are represented as balls of yarn. Another ball of yarn comes to the workforce, and the Pearl has kind of lost her identity as a ball of yarn to try and fit in with the men. And when this new ball of yarn comes and she sees how left out the other ball of yarn is, she kind of decides, no, like I need to be true to myself, not just for me, but for like other balls of yarn or women in the same space. You know, you have to advocate. You're not just advocating for yourself, you're advocating for representation of women, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I think like for you watching that film, and it's, you know, directed by Kristen Lester, kind of gives that's why it's important to have you know, female perspective in film, because then, you know, women like yourself watch it and they feel inspired by it, and that's kind of another reason why you're having, you know, this film festival, because you want to have more females in you know, roles in film, and
just like the female perspective as well, you know, because it's natural that we want to showcase things that we relate to and projects and feelings that are familiar to us. And there's a lot of, I feel like, very feminine experiences, very women-orientated experiences that don't get shown a lot in festivals and things. You're all good. They don't get shown a lot in festivals and things just because when they are majority like male run, they don't relate to those films. They maybe don't understand the point of it. They maybe don't understand the point of it, or they don't understand the feeling that film is trying to talk about. So that film doesn't get in. So I guess our film festival is a space where there's experiences that we as women are going to understand that, not saying that all men won't, but, it's a very, like, in general, it would be a female experience,
Mm-hmm.
So to have that kind of ability that is what we're about. Not only do you actually have a chance of getting in here, but we want to focus on it and celebrate it.
Yeah, as a creative, I believe in diversity, and I think it doesn't really matter what it is. If there's one perspective and it's like the dominating perspective, it's never really good to have one perspective. You don't see the sides of
exactly
whatever you're looking at. So, yeah.
And I guess that's also kind of why we have female-led categories and non-female-led categories. So all of our films are created by women, but we have, for example, narrative short with female lead and just narrative short. Because, if you have a female lead character, it kind of alludes to the fact that you're probably going to be talking about a very female experience or like just female story. Whereas if you don't have a female lead, it might mean that it is a woman behind the camera making that story, which we equally want to appreciate and represent. They just don't have like a female cast member showing that story, and that's where it's more about highlighting the filmmaker rather than still highlighting the story, but like this, in that case, we're kind of there to support the filmmaker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. And I just want to add in to that. I think in the creative industry, I think we need diversity, we need perspectives, but also I don't think if you're hiring someone for a project or you want somebody involved, it shouldn't matter what their gender is or what their race is or what their background is. Just like, honestly, it should just matter on their skills. Like, are they fit for a role? Like, that's it. But I think, yes, maybe in the film industry, that's...
Well, everybody needs, I guess I would put it this way. It's like everybody needs experience and everybody needs opportunities in order to get to the point where they can, have skills and stuff like that. So different festivals will cater towards different things. There's a million different festivals with a million different niches and specifications. Our niche is, I guess, because we are female orientated, we're going to have more women. We are an event for everybody. Everybody can have a great time and network. But because we're women orientated, the hope is that we are encouraging more women to network and come into that space. So it's not so much isolating people so much as creating opportunities for niche individuals that we need to see more represented. Because it's just kind of natural in industry that people go towards what is familiar. And when a space has been dominated by a certain majority for a long period of time, they're going to hire people. It's just they're going to hire what's familiar to them. So by creating opportunities, I feel like we are creating those skilled individuals so that it stops mattering. It stops mattering the fact that they are a woman. Yeah,
for sure. No, I totally agree. And just reinforces the importance of events like this. And guys, it's everybody's welcome at this film festival. Guys can come and support as well. So
I mean, at the end of the day, like the festival is it's just a creative event. We have our morals and values, which we show in our content and we show in our advertising and in how we are run. But the actual event, it's a fun time for everybody, where anybody can come and just creatives can collaborate. At the end of the day, what we really want it to be is a creative space.
So maybe there's some like male creative listeners and they're thinking, well, what's in it for me? Like to come to this event, what would you say to them?
Oh, well, it's the same thing. Like at the end of the day, we're trying to create a networking space. Actually, there's a male filmmaker friend of ours who asked us whether he should come, because he said, like, I don't want to take up space that could be for like a female filmmaker. And what I said to him is, no, you coming and supporting us and coming as a filmmaker, you might meet a female filmmaker in a role, in a capacity that you would need, and that's going to help us. But also, like, it's a networking space in general. It's not like we're going to be like, okay, only women talk to each other. Like, if you are a man, like, I guess you can watch the films, but like, don't come otherwise. No, like, it's a networking space for everybody. We want to encourage Perth film industry. So in that case, it's just like any other festival. It's just the female highlight.
It's a creative event for creative people who are like interested in film to come and meet each other. But the kind of reason for the event is, empowering more women and supporting women in film.
Yeah, exactly.
So everybody welcome and come network and meet creative people.
Yeah, just under a banner
like-minded people,
like-minded people, just under a banner of appreciating female-made films, because that's what we're going to watch. For
sure. Chantel, do you want to add anything to that?
I would just say, if you're a male creative, it's about just supporting. Like, obviously, you're welcome to come, but under the guise of like supporting and understanding why we're making this. And that there's going to be women there, and that you have to be like okay with that, Do you know? I don't know who's listening. Do you know what I mean? Just like being okay with like being able to network and be like, yes, these are fantastic women creatives in the industry that I could like bring onto my crews, and that I could also be a part of, and also
just think of the people there.
Yeah.
As creatives with skills, and you can network with them.
That's all we want. That's literally all we want.
I was talking with someone recently about what it like. I was talking with a male creative about like, how do I write like a good female character, because there's a whole thing about like men writing women wrong, and I think it actually comes from, there's a term called othering.
Misogyny.
Misogyny. No, but there's a term called othering, which can be applied to anything. It's essentially just treating another human being as other, So the thing with like, so he was asking me, how do I, as like a man, write a female character good? And I said to him, like, just don't write a female character, write a person, because at the end of the day, we're all people.
Yeah.
And I think that's the kind of, that's the like designation that we want to avoid, in terms of like story writing and networking at general events, is just stop thinking of us as men and women, and actually we're just people, we're just creatives collaborating together. What's your gender? Male, female, creative,
For sure.
Yeah, so I guess so at the end of the day, I feel like there's a lot of it's a case of you're talking to someone, and I think I can tell when they're talking to me as a woman and not as a person.
So easy to tell.
It's little things, and like that they just make you feel different. So like I mentioned, I was quite isolated in my cohort as one of two girls, and there was one person who would always get the other, he would stop the other guys from talking about certain topics and stuff if he deemed them like inappropriate for in front of me. And all it did was make the guys not connect with me, because they felt like they had to watch their language use around me. And I didn't care, because I'm a person. Yeah. Like, I like the occasional 12-year-old joke,
Yeah.
I have a crude sense of humor, but he would try and like shut down those conversations when I was there, because he wanted to treat me as a lady. When I would have rather just kind of been in on the joke. Like, if it was genuinely a disgusting thing that you shouldn't joke about, fair enough. But when it's just like talking about adult topics, like, I'm an adult. Yeah. I can also engage in that conversation. And so him shutting them down, it was othering me from the men in that group, which in the pearl analogy was, it was just making me feel more like disconnected from those people. They felt like they had to watch themselves around me.
Was it like a conversation to do with like film and creative?
No, it was just like a friendly conversation between the cohort, because like I said, we were all like quite close.
And stuff.
They were just joking, and they would joke. I think it was like, because he did it more than once. It was whenever they were joking about like sexual stuff or things like that, and not in a crude way, but just in like in a way that young adults joke about it. Nothing disgusting. But yeah, and he would just try and shut down those conversations around me because like I'm a woman and you don't talk about that in front of a lady. Which is,
I guess I can see where he's coming from, but maybe it was just like a poor judge of character for you. Like if he knew you and he'd be like, oh yeah, she's chill to like just.
I was also like,
she's also like a consensual human being that can be asked, hey Giz, are you cool with that? Like, are you like, or be like, hey, like, yeah, like, not make the decision for you.
Yeah.
He's no knight in shining armor is what we're trying to say.
Yeah. And, I am also an adult. If I'm in a conversation, which I think is another thing with women in industry, is that we often get infantized. Babyfied. We get treated like it doesn't
just
help.
tell me everything that you guys experience that maybe made you want to have this film festival in general, like
well,
like all the negative things, just you know what I mean.
I guess it's like, it is like
babyfied. Tell me what is babyfied.
So I guess a lot of the time I'll share my few stories, then Chantal can share some, but I guess it's just a lot of the time I'll find there'll be me and there'll be a peer that like same age as me, and he will be like treated with so much respect that I just won't get, especially since my main role in industry is a producer, which is like it's a management role. Sorry. It is a management role. I am in charge of people frequently, and I am, because I started in industry so young. Sorry, I keep doing that.
I've like hit this a billion times, so that's cool.
Because I started in industry so young, I was 17. I was frequently in charge of people older than me. And and fair enough that sometimes people didn't like that, but I would find that guys the same age as me would not get that treatment. Like they had a problem being told what to do by a girl younger than them, but if it's a guy younger than them, they're like, oh yeah, he's an adult. Like I just wouldn't get treated as an adult. And I wasn't 17 for very long. I turned 18 not long after I started.
You're only
studying.
17 for a year.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I was only 17 for 4 months that I was studying. But yeah, like I would just find that 18-year-old guys straight out of high school is like, yeah, you can be a director and I'm going to respect you and what you say. And I remember I was working on a film once and I was co-producing with one of my good friends who is a really... he was actually the guy who was in the initial conversation that made Swan happen. So he's a really great guy, and we were co-producing together, and we were working with this really difficult filmmaker. I wouldn't say his role.
Named it?
I wouldn't even say his role. But we were working with this difficult filmmaker, and now we were co-producing, but I was the lead producer because I had more producing experience than my friend. And I was kind of training him up in the position. So this filmmaker, I would tell him the plan and tell him what we were doing over and over and over again. And he would fight with me and he would disagree with me. And then I would just call my friend, his name's Luke. I would call Luke and I would be like, hey, Luke, can you come help me out? Luke would be like, okay. And I was like, this is what this person is complaining about. And Luke would be like, okay. And he would go talk to this filmmaker. And Luke would be like, Giz tells me you're having a problem with this. This is what we're doing. And Luke would say the exact same thing that I said, word for word. And this guy would be like, okay, yeah, that sounds good. We'll do that.
Yeah. Well, just sounds, it's like if you have a creative role, like that's your role. Like if you're the director, you're the director. It doesn't matter what gender you are, what background you have, that's your label. So
I should just be able to be respected for my position regardless of anything 100%. Else. Or I should be judged for my craft and not for like anything else, you know? And I don't think I deserve that.
I do want to say, like, outside of maybe the creative field that you're like in the real world or whatever. Like if there's an elderly person, I'm going to treat that person different from maybe if there's like a teenager. So, and I think because those people are different, I think men and women we're different. So I would treat maybe a woman like, also her age also depends on how I treat her, or a man.
Well,
like,
I would say there's a difference between accommodation and discrimination.
Mm-hmm.
You know, accommodation is different. There's this concept of equality versus equity. You know, we all have different needs that are going to be met differently. And you're going to, you know, when you're talking to an elderly person or you're working with an elderly person, of course you're going to treat them differently. They have different needs. But if you start treating them badly or disrespecting them for being an elderly person, that's different, you know. I would say attitude and accommodation are like, that's a different thing, I would say.
Was it attitude and accommodation or?
So attitude and accommodation, I would say, is just treating someone based on who they are. Like an elderly person, you might not give them tasks where they'll carry heavy things,
okay,
you know? Because that's like considering the fact that they are an elderly person. Whereas if you were like, oh, I hate old people, so I'm working with this elderly person, so I'm going to be super mean to them.
Having prejudice.
Yeah. So prejudice versus discernment.
And of course you can ask the elderly person, like, are you comfortable with carrying this object? If yes, just let them.
And how respectful is that?
And that's on them if, you know, something happens, but it's their choice,
Yeah, so that's the thing, is you're being respectful towards them. But yeah, I know that Chantel has had some really fun times on set with
Yes, I think it's interesting. I've had my fair share of misogynistic men on set, and I like to believe that now I don't take shit from many men. And that's why I create a lot of my very female-based stories as a writer and director. And I don't really have many men on my crews now. That's just how things are. And obviously, I'm not trying to push them away, but it's just how things have played out. We've had situations where obviously I'm a writer-director, but I've produced for men, and that has always been a fun time. And normally when we get together, we always talk about experiences, because it's always like, have you worked with this person? Are they good? Like, are they going to listen to me? Because most of the time they go, yep, I'm going to listen to you. Like, we sign a contract and everything, and then no listening, no communication, there's nothing there. And my partner also works in film, and he's a man, and I always tell him, and he is so, he's trying his hardest to because they will listen to him but not listen to me, and I have the highest position. Like, producer is seen as the highest, right? You're the top shit. And then everyone below you, even the director, has to go through you, because you're looking after budget, the scheduling, actors, casting, you're looking after pre-production. You are the reason things are moving along. The timeline is moving, and it can be very frustrating when men being gaslit a lot of the time, or being told that, oh, you're really letting your feelings and your emotions get into this. And I'm like, I'm literally being so logical about this. I cannot explain to you how logical I'm being. Or when I'm especially when I become cold, I'm cutting people off when I'm saying, okay, this is not okay, I'm not doing this anymore. They say, wow, you're letting your feelings getting in the way of it. And I'm like, I'm not letting my feelings, you're just a bad person to work with. You're not listening to me. You can find someone else. You can never, as a woman, it feels like you can never say something in the right tone of voice, in the right way for people to actually take you seriously. Sometimes I have had a cinematographer scream in my face, calm down. And all I was thinking at the time was, I literally feel so calm. There is no emotion. I am literally just in work mode. And he yelled at me. And I was so confused. I was like, I am calm.
I just think if I was, working in the film industry, and there's the director, it literally doesn't matter the gender or male, female, whatever. It's that's the director. You do what they say. And
exactly.
if you can quit, you have the ability to quit. But this is the team you're working with, that's the director. So that would be very frustrating. I can see that.
Yeah. And I guess that's just
But I hope that doesn't turn you off hiring men on your team. Obviously you can have these past experiences that but then you don't want to
turn it into something that's a repeat of what men do, like, if you know what I mean. Like, honestly, you don't I don't mind. No. What I make is quite angry and feminist in the first place. So like, there's a lot of men who are put off by my stuff in the first place. So women tend to gravitate towards me and my projects.
If I can, I hope. I think I've said this to you before, so I hope it will be a shock to you. But like, yeah, right. so Chantal is such an amazing writer director, and she makes really, and she makes really, and she makes. I've worked on a couple of her films as well as just kind of been around them because we have the same like friends and networking group, I think a lot of Chantal's films are so amazing because when I watch them, I feel so seen. I feel like there's this experience of, you know, and anyone can have this experience when watching a certain film. And with Chantal's films especially, I feel like so seen as a woman. Like my experiences feel so validated. And there was one of Chantal's films won an award at WA Made. And I'm not going to... And I'm not going to...
about me, though.
This is the Chantal podcast.
This is the Chantal podcast now.
And I was actually... don't take this the wrong way. I was surprised that it won solely because it was such a female story that I thought I was thinking in my head, like, I've been to film festivals before, and I was thinking in my head, there's no way that this is going to, because it was an Audience Choice Award. I was like, are men going to vote for this? Because do they understand just how real of an experience this is for women? Because I guarantee every woman in that audience.
It was about like sexual
film.
assault and consent and where the line is and like how consent can be taken away at any time. And sometimes when I was doing the actual film, telling men about it, a lot of them had a visceral reaction being like, but that's not all men. And I was like, well, if you have a problem, then you're not getting it. I was like, if you're already saying that's not all men, obviously that's not what I'm going for. Obviously you know what I mean. But if you have, like, if the shoe fits, wear it. Like, that's kind of the idea.
And there was a part in the film where men were making, it was like a woman like watching and experiencing men making really inappropriate sexist jokes.
Yeah.
And am I right that like some people were laughing at those jokes as if they were actual jokes? And it's like, do you realize when you laugh at those jokes, you're making all the women in your life feel awful?
Yeah. It's just
Wait,
like...
Is this at the premiere?
No, so this is during the film. So like our protagonist, main character, a woman, is at a bar and she's having a drink and she's watching different people in the bar, and we get close-ups of what they're... the people and what they're saying, like little snippets of their conversation.
Do we have this film on hard drive, by the way?
No.
This one we don't.
No, unfortunately, I didn't put it into my own festival. That would be in a bit.
we do have a rule against our own films in the festival, just because that would be a little bit pretentious.
But it will be coming out on YouTube at some point.
Okay.
I'll release it. It's been a while since
it's called Meat.
Put the channel down.
But so little snippets about different scenarios. So like a man like having a relationship with his mistress and his wife is on the phone, and that whole situation, and then a bunch of like workmen talking about a woman at the office, and like these conversations happen, and normally like sometimes you overhear them, but it's like if you say anything then you're overreacting, but then if you don't say anything then it's like, are you complicit in this? And every time, like I say something all the time now, I am that angry person that says something that over like the dramatic person, but I don't like, it doesn't matter to me, but hearing those, but because I've seen the outcomes of it and the idea of the violence against women, especially male violence against women, the systemic problems because of it, I'm very passionate about male violence against women and just like how much it's so normalized and seen as like so normal, especially in film as well, where like female rape, I'm not sure if I can talk about, but like female rape
I think
pain.
YouTube might maybe say grape,
you get what I mean, is seen like is normalized, like female pain is so normalized. So what I do in my films is I practice a lot of female rage in my films and a lot of catharsis for women to be seen,
which I think is really great, because something that I'm really tired of seeing in media is a term, fridging. I don't know if people fridging. Yeah, so fridging refers to when a woman is typically a mother, wife, daughter is graphically killed, injured, hurt in some way. The term comes from a video game in which a character's wife is literally cut up and put in a fridge. And
is it a dictionary term, or is it a?
It's a slang term. Slang term. So so fridging refers to so when a woman is mutilated and then a male character in their life kind of seeks revenge because they're upset that this happened to their wife or daughter.
Oh, okay.
It's okay.
Thank you so much for coming on.
No worries. Enjoy the rest.
We'll just keep chatting.
Yeah,
go for it.
No worries. But yeah, so fridging refers to when a female character is mutilated and then a male character gets revenge for them. So Chantel's films are really great because it's kind of about a female defending themselves and getting justice for themselves rather than someone else doing that on their behalf and perpetuating this kind of princess mentality of needing someone to rescue them.
Okay. And yeah, that got voted. It won an award, you said?
So Chantel's film won the Audience Choice Award at WA Made this year.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's another example of why it's important to show the female perspective. And I think film is an amazing film in general is just an amazing way to communicate ideas and show perspectives.
Yeah.
And also, again, I don't think the film should be judged on its creativity.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Involved. It shouldn't be judged on whether it's male oriented or female oriented or whatever. It's just about was it a good film?
Yeah, exactly.
Did it communicate the idea as well and in a creative way?
Exactly.
And yeah, I think it's great that it won that award.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Neat. So yeah, we're very excited for the festival next week, and hopefully we'll get a lot of people coming and a lot of people just generating some conversation about Perth media and women in filmmaking and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. So can you just run through again when the event's on? What can people expect when they come to the event? So you bought your ticket, which you can find from the link below on your
Yeah, so we everything is on the website, www.swanwomeninfilmfestival.com.au, or if you go to our social media, so that's Swan Perth International Women in Film Festival.
You'll find your link for the ticket.
You'll find links for everything. We've got link trees. Everything is connected. I tried to keep everything very. My dad works in web tech, so I'm a big fan of everything being very easy to flow through. So we're selling tickets through Humanitix, which actually our ticketing company is an affiliate of ours because they are the world's only not-for-profit ticketing company. All of their profit from the tickets goes towards helping children in need.
Okay.
So yeah, tickets. So we have, once you have your ticket, you can get it from Humanitix. Friday, the 2nd of December is our opening night. That is our Dahlia event, which will be at SAE from 6 to 9 p.m. You can come. There's
how many films will be?
How many films will be shown? Roughly 10 at each event. And it'll be in one hour and a half long session. So when people arrive, there'll be some networking time.
Drinks and
there'll be on opening night we will have some free wine. There you go. So opening night there will be some wine and popcorn available, and as well as some cupcakes from one of our sponsors.
Ooh, okay, now
you're interested. And then you can network for a while, and then we're going to have the screening. And then there'll be some networking time after as well. Then our weekend events, our morning ones are both 12 till 3, and our evening ones are 6 till 9. And the venues are 5 minutes away from each other. So it's kind of designed that you can go to the morning one, go have some food for lunch, and then come back to the evening one.
Okay.
So our morning events on the weekend are both at SAE, and then our evening events are at the back lot.
But the opening event is at SAE.
Is at SAE on the Friday night. Yeah. So then Saturday morning is Flamingo, which is the under-17s category. Same kind of run through, except without the wine and cupcakes. Then our Saturday evening event is our Fuchsia documentary session, which is a really good one.
Oh, that's interesting.
The documentary category had so many amazing films. That was a really hard one to crack down on, and genuinely, there's some really good stuff showing there. That's going to be at the Backlot from 6 till 9 p.m. And the Backlot events, it's a slightly more exclusive venue, and you do get a free pretzel from the company Pretzel. There will be a free pretzel as well as a bar available. That bar is not free though. Sorry, the free wine is only on opening night. And then Sunday morning is our magenta shorts category, which, as I said, is our regular narrative shorts, lighter content. And then Sunday evening is back at the Backlot for our champagne night. Champagne is selling out fast, and that is.
I have to ask: do you buy one ticket and you go to everything, or
no,
you just buy
each event is
individuals?
ticketed. Each event is ticketed, and SAE is one price, and Backlot is a different price. And yeah, at our champagne night, that'll be the screening of all of the winners from our festival. So champagne will be a re-screening of the best films from the entire festival.
Wow, that sounds like a lot of fun and very interesting. And if you're listening to this as a creative, I think you should come down and network and meet cool creative people and see the films from all around the world. I'm super excited. Thank you so much for coming on the show and just letting everyone know about the festival, and also I've found the other conversations super insightful. So hopefully we can have another podcast again at some point.
Definitely, for sure. Thank you for having us.
Cool. Check all the links in the description, and follow these guys on Instagram as well. And we'll be posting stuff for the festival, which is gonna be from the 2nd to the 4th.
Yes, very exciting.
Thanks.